probably is better to go through committee and fine tune.
Cause I walk on the thing, but I
Yeah,
always
well,
check.
I'm gonna have, 'cause anything that's submitted
I
as
do
council
too.
meetings is
Since
just,
that
that's the
happened,
first time
I
everyone's
go
seen it.
downstairs
They
to the
may
cellar, I wear my
Yeah,
badge,
that's true.
and this
move
thing
on it, but they're
is
like,
annoying,
it's the
but
first
it
opportunity
actually
they've had
is pretty nice.
I'm gonna, I need a
But
resolution
cause I'm there by myself a lot
to
too.
ask
And so I'm like, oops, I better go put this
to
thing
the
on, or I
DCR
go out to
and
get something in the car,
NRCS
oops, I better bring that.
about doing a value study on our dam plans, since they're so expensive. And I was instructed, if you ask for a value study, and it comes in the form of resolution,
Good.
they will take it seriously.
I think that it's 4 o'clock.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Good afternoon, I'd like to call this meeting of the Ordinance and Charter Committee to order. Would you please call the roll, please?
Bishop,
Present.
Black,
Here,
Easley.
are there any items to be added to the agenda as it stands?
Yes, sir.
There are not. Do we have any citizens who have signed up to speak?
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Oh, I beg your pardon, I'm sorry.
So,
Just rolling right along.
second,
Motion
so
by
we don't
Easley.
have to first and second each other anymore.
Good,
Back and back.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Thank you.
good. Now, are there any recognitions?
No, sir.
Citizens to be
No,
recognized?
sir.
And do we have any presentations?
No, sir.
If that's the case, then let's move on to unfinished business. And the very first of those is a review, discussion, and recommendations to council on cross-connection control policy. I am pleased to see that it is now designated at the top of the page as a program policy.
Here it is, I got it.
With that in mind, what is the purpose, or what is the duty of this committee?
So the policy was modeled on the model policy or the model ordinance. And we, of course, refined it to make it specific to Chatham, and Sarah, as the Public Works Director, would be the one under the policy who would go about the assessments and then ultimately the corrections and the enforcements. So it's gonna add, at least initially, probably a pretty good workload to some things for her to get an assessment going of what's the current state of our water system with regard to backflow prevention and cross connection. We don't think there's any major issues out there from what the conversations that have been part of this committee. But the council ultimately would need to adopt the policy to make it an enforceable, and to empower her and to satisfy the state of Virginia that requires these policies of municipal water suppliers.
Let me ask you, I'm loath to try and add a level of bureaucracy, but would the recommendation to the council come from this committee or from the Water and Sewer Committee?
I think it would, that you all would approve it as a policy.
Good policy.
It's not, we're not creating a new ordinance, but we are formally adopting a policy and empowering your Public Works Director then to carry out and complete the policy requirements. The Virginia wants to ensure that the towns are using, town, cities, and counties are using these things and enforcing them, because it's a public health and safety issue.
I understand.
But they want formal adoption to give it some teeth. But the way it's structured, the way the policy's been written, it would empower your Public Works Director to then take on these responsibilities and giving her some authority to then enforce those things.
Okay.
They're civil enforcement fines. It's not, doesn't involve criminal enforcement or any of that thing. So therefore, a policy is fine, but the council does have to give its approval.
May I ask you a question?
Please.
Tim, I know last meeting we talked about the difference between policies and ordinances. And I don't remember what the other policy that we're looking at. But may I ask, or may you tell me again, why this should be a policy and not an ordinance? Is this a requirement from the Commonwealth? So why wouldn't it be an ordinance, is my
That'd be
question?
one or the other.
Huh?
The ordinance would give more teeth and could potentially give stronger enforcement powers, misdemeanors, for example.
Right,
as
that's
opposed
what
to
I was
civil
wondering if
fines.
this is law. Is this a,
The policy
black and
is,
white requirement from the state, or?
yeah, they actually create the model policy. And then we adapt it to fit our,
She,
So it's not an ordinance for them, it's policy for the state too? Is that
It's-
what you're saying?
it's a policy for us. So we would enforce it as a policy, not an ordinance.
What's the benefit of doing this as a policy and not an ordinance?
there you go.
Yeah, you could do either one. An ordinance just adds to the existing ordinance, the body of law that we already have. And the primary difference, I think, Janet, would be the civil penalties versus criminal and or civil penalties. And under a policy, we can enforce the fines for
Should
violators.
we,
If you all wanna make it an ordinance, then it would have to, it would be similarly worded, but we don't have any, I mean, do you wanna prosecute violators under
well,
a misdemeanor
the
type?
reason that, and I understand where you're going with that, but the reason that I'm questioning it is if it has the potential of hurting the public health, should it have more teeth than a policy?
Well, and
I
last,
don't know, I'm just raising that.
sure, that's a great question. In last meeting, the thought was, well, let's enact it as a policy, let's see what we have out there by doing the assessment, and then see whether, if we're enforcing it once a year, maybe a policy is sufficient, but if you're enforcing it every month and people are not responsive, then maybe you up
Okay,
the
I got
level
you.
of I call it the punitive sections or provisions, could be enhanced if it were in fact an ordinance. You'd have more power behind it, more lawful power behind it. But for now, I think the thought was, let's begin with the policy, and if it's insufficient to accomplish what has to be done, I mean, these things have to be complied with.
Yeah, that's what.
And if you're not getting compliance, then I think you're right, you up the,
And I also want people to understand the gravity of it.
right.
Like, I didn't know until we had this discussion, and then, it was an issue at another place where they have a private water supply. And, you know, you're just not allowed to have anything that doesn't have this backflow connector.
But initially, the Public Works Director will need to lead an assessment of the system and determine if everything is in place. And if it already is in place, then there's not a need.
The policy would be
Yes, the policy
adequate.
would be sufficient.
Right, so she could work with Tony Rourke, who was here last time,
Yes.
and I'm sure they have sample assessments with the right questions to ask. Do you have a swimming pool? How is it? How do you fill it? Those, whatever their questions are, because you're right, Sarah's gonna have to make an initial assessment of all of the users, water users, so that we don't get a contaminated backflow happening.
We can make a motion and vote as a committee to send the policy to the town council with the proviso that in the future, if it is not working as a policy, then we can bring it back to committee.
Right, so that's always in that's right, it's in the background. I think what your motion would be to approve the policy as written.